The Philadelphia 76ers suffered a heartbreaking loss at the hands of the New York Knicks and are now down 0-2 in the series. Not a great spot to be put in, and perhaps even worse is the process in which they got here. This may have very well overtaken the Kawhi Leonard shot for the most heartbreaking collapse that I've seen of a team wearing a Sixers uniform. And I do want to dive into what specifically went wrong, who's most at fault, some of the wild quotes that are flying around from the fiery postgame session from a number of these Sixers players, and specifically the outlook for this Sixers team in this series as a whole right now. So I want to start right off with the box score, that as a whole, the Knicks securing a 104-105 or 101 victory, that the Sixers did get production from the expected key players here, that Joel Embiid, while not looking like nearly the 100% version of himself, it is clear that that knee continues to act up. And I do want to circle back to the Joel Embiid conversation because there is some irresponsible stuff being thrown around online right now. But to just acknowledge his play, he did finish with 34 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And then Tyrese Maxey, the other story of today, that fighting through flu symptoms, he produced 35 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, just one rebound short of a triple-double. Also was 12 of 22 from the field and 5 of 11 from 3. But when you look beyond it, there's not much from the Sixers team. Tobias Harris, the next leading scorer with 10 points there. He had a pretty solid game overall. Also added 9 rebounds, one of his better performances, I would say. But that bar has snuck down pretty low in that kind of comparison there. Kyle Lowry had 8 points, 6 rebounds, played solid. Kelly Oubre just 4 points. Only 2 of 7 from the field, and just nothing from the bench. That Nico Batum adding 6 points, hitting a pair of threes. Buddy Hield a non-factor in his 15 minutes of play. And Paul Reed held down the fort okay in the times where Joel Embiid was off the court. But overall, the story of this game is the execution down the stretch. And the Sixers did everything possible to put themselves in the driver's seat to getting a victory here. All they had to do was just make some simple passes, inbounds the ball, hit some free throws, grab a couple rebounds, and they were unable to do so. So to take a look at the specific play-by-play for things down the stretch here, I just want to take you through the final 47 seconds of this play. That Kyle Lowry knocking down a free throw and missing the second. At this point in time, that the Sixers are up 101-96. Then Jalen Brunson comes down, hits a big-time three-pointer off a Dante DiVincenzo assist. We now have a 2-point game. And then this is where things go south. That the ball is inbound to Tyrese Maxey. And by the way, I am going to take through a couple of the highlights of these plays. I wish I could dive into a full film breakdown, but we do have some copyright restrictions here. So I do suggest you watch this full play in its entirety. I know you guys have all seen it already by now, but just this is something that I'm going to probably watch hundreds of times by the end of even the night at this point. But just to dive into each thing here, that there is a Tyrese Maxey lost ball turnover, which Josh Hart steals. That leads to a miss by Dante DiVincenzo, and Isaiah Hartenstein rebound, another kick out, and then DiVincenzo makes the Sixers pay to jump up to a 102-101 lead there. And that is when things just an absolute gut punch there. So to dive into specifically, I first want to look at this inbounds pass here. And I'm so frustrated by this play for a number of reasons. But to look at it completely, let's just take a peek. So as you can see, the quick inbounds from Kyle Lowry there, this was an interesting play in which it's clear that the Sixers were not fully prepared. They did not have a plan for where to go with the ball. Lowry tried to sneak it into Tyrese Maxey, who wasn't quite ready to receive it. And why that is especially frustrating to me is that's why Kyle Lowry is on this team. That you are the guy that are the champion. You are the veteran. You are the guy that should be trusted to make these types of plays. Simple inbound stuff. That yes, it's a mature read. Yes, it's something that you know, a high stakes situation. But once again, that's why you're here. What also is very interesting on this play is what the Sixers were not granted, and that was Nick Nurse calling for the timeout himself. So there's 2 separate occasions during this full breakdown in which Nick Nurse calls for the timeout. Number 1, before the team inbounded the ball at all, which to me was 1,000% the right move, that they had 1 timeout left at this point, and the second that things looked discombobulated, that there was not a clear path to get the ball inbounds and pick up play, that's when timeout is called. And to Nick Nurse's credit, that is exactly what he did, as you can see here in the left portion of the screen. Now, I've seen some kind of pushback of him not being fully committed to it. Like, as you can see, and I will pull it up one last time, he does kind of pull the hands back once the ball is inbounded. But the bottom line is he is trying to make this call before the play even starts. And what's especially interesting is after Tyrese gets wrapped up, falls to the floor, Nurse tries to get a timeout off again, and again is not granted. So this is a little more zoomed in once again at the top left of your screen here. You can see this from Nurse as well. Now, I get that's a little bit more of a difficult situation as Josh Hart was in the process of turning the ball over, so it wasn't quite as clear-cut of Tyrese Maxey's ball. But the bottom line is, when the coach is trying to call a timeout, you give it to him. And I'm way more frustrated about him not getting the timeout call before the Lowry inbounds than that Maxey one specifically. And Nurse himself is quite heated about it as well. That during his post-game press conference, he was asked, and he said, quote, "I called timeout. The referee looked right at me and ignored me. Tyrese Maxey got the ball. I called timeout again. He ignored me again." And you know what? Based on what I saw, pretty fair assumption there. And the Sixers are definitely fired up about this. And you know how I know that? Is that they did elect to file a grievance with the NBA. So Tim Bontemps tweeting that the 76ers plan to file a grievance with the NBA over the officiating across the first 2 games of this series. Now, I think this is a little bit of loser energy. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know what the best case scenario is here. That, what does the league do? What do they say? That, yes, we got that one wrong. We screwed that one up. Let's run it back for a quick last 30 seconds of play. I don't even know what the full outlook is. And I tweeted kind of asking, see if anybody had an idea, and have gotten a couple of different replies. So I'm going to wait till that plays itself out, and we'll definitely have a video out to react now that once I know the more concrete facts. But the bottom line is, the refereeing issue was real, and it was not just these timeouts. We saw Jalen Brunson playing like Trae Young 2.0, just jumping into the back of defenders, and it is wild to me, for all the criticism I've seen from Knicks fans about the whistle that Joel Embiid gets, to watch the way that Jalen Brunson played. And I know it's because he's frustrated. It's because he's not getting to his spots. He's not playing well, shooting under 30% from the field because Kelly Oubre has had him locked up, but it does not change the fact that that earns him the right to get to the charity stripe. And with Joel Embiid specifically, I know I mentioned him with the concept of getting to the free throw line. I give Joel Embiid a great deal of respect tonight. Now, was he a guy that was unable to pull in a rebound in crunch time in that final minute? He was one of them, yes. But he also was a guy completely playing on one knee, that he could not move for the full portion, that full second half of that game. I thought there was a real point in this game where he was not going to check back in, that they were looking at him on the bench. He was getting a full massage on that knee. You could see his mobility severely lacking, but give the dude credit. He battled through and played far better than your favorite player ever could if you're not a Joel Embiid guy. So I'm seeing a whole lot, and it started about midway through the meltdown of this game of, you can't trust Embiid. He's never going to be healthy. I hear the frustration. I hear the meltdowns. But the dude deserves some credit for putting his money where his mouth is, leaving every piece of heart and soul he has. And you know what? It should have been enough to get this win. And Joel, he had his choice words for the referee, calling it effing ridiculous in his post-game presser, and also had a little bit of a voice of confidence here, that he did finish with this quote here saying, "We're going to win this series," and followed up saying, "We're the better team." And you know what? I agree with that assessment as well, that's what's most frustrating at this specific spot. The Sixers are better than the New York Knicks. They have had self-inflicted issues that have cost them both games, but in both situations, they have been in the driver's seat. And this one was especially egregious. It just can't happen where you're doing little stuff like this.
2-point game.
If you want to be a serious team, and the Sixers do not currently look like they want to be, you just have to be smarter than that. That if this is mature, smart basketball, you win this basketball game. It's not that difficult. They were in the driver's seat. They had done the legwork, the hard work to get the lead, get out on top, to push it to a 4-point lead with under a minute left to play. It's embarrassing that the Sixers blew that game. And again, I'm not going to sit here and blame this on the referees. That to me, I take full responsibility, or put full responsibility, on the decision making by Kyle Lowry, by Tyrese Maxey not being able to just grab that ball, hold it, and get fouled. That there was a ton of just little moments that you just have to be better than, and I'm frustrated that this is the case. And in the wide scale, there was a ton of execution issues, that we lived with the hero ball of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey down the stretch, which I absolutely hate. I thought that's what we were trending away from when we moved on from Doc Rivers to Nick Nurse, but it's looking quite similar to last postseason. And that's the worst part, that once again I circle back to, this Knicks team is just not as good as this Sixers team. They're talented, they're hard-nosed, they scrap hard, but it's disgusting that the Sixers team is down 2-0. That Josh Hart is turning into Klay Thompson and simply will not. The guy that has shot 31% from the field, I dare you to shoot that many three-pointers in Game 3 when we're back in Philadelphia, because it isn't going to happen. And I love that Joel Embiid did come out and say this. I love that he is kind of leading from the front, having this mentality that we're going to win the series, because guess what? It's not over yet. That they play 7 games for a reason. That it's the first one to 4, and the Knicks just took a little bit of a lead. So is it crushing? Is this a tough one to pick yourself up off the mat? It absolutely is. But I'm still a believer that talent wins out, and as long as Joel Embiid's knee is still hanging on by a thread, as long as he's capable of stepping back on this floor, I do fully expect this team to battle back. They head back to Philadelphia on Thursday. I've seen an impressive amount of scrap from the Sixers team, and again, They just simply should have won this game. So what I expect is a convincing victory on Thursday. I expect this to be one of these, wake up, we're not playing around anymore. We're playing our best basketball, and the Knicks cannot hang with us, because I do believe that to be the case. That for all the Jalen Brunson conversation, Jalen Brunson is far closer to Tyrese Maxey than he is Joel Embiid. That Jalen Brunson is not this MVP caliber player. He's a nice player. He's very good. But when the lights shine the brightest, you see his weaknesses. That he is a guy that you can take out of a game in a way that if he's the superstar he's being portrayed to be, that should not be the case. And I know I'm talking my talk with the Sixers down 0-2 right now, but the bottom line is, that is not quite a fair indication of how this series has gone so far. So I'm frustrated that their situation was taken away, that the poor refereeing absolutely played a role in the Sixers not getting the victory. But again, you cannot leave it up for them to decide. We still got a lot of basketball left to play in this series and in this playoffs. I've been Sixers in 6 from the start. Maybe it's Sixers in 7, but I still expect this Sixers team to find a way to get past this round. Let me know if you're with me. Sound off in the comments if you disagree. I'll be here breaking everything down from start to finish. I will be hopping over with Knicks Digest tomorrow to kind of have a little back and forth, and I'll be talking my talk directly to right to the chest of Chris right there. So make sure you are staying tuned for that right here on Sixers Digest. Please smash that subscribe button if you have not already to keep this Sixers Digest family growing. Drop a like to let me know you're watching, and I'll be talking to you next time. Peace.